So, according to some professional, constantly rewatching a movie or TV show can be a major sign of mental illness, notably anxiety. Is that a problem with me? Nah. This is like my 5th rewatch this year. What's up, visitors, and welcome to Tank Talks Whatever, where I talk about whatever, and today's subject is a show that's sort of taken me by storm, Hilda. Hilda is a Netflix original animated TV show based on the graphic novels of the same name. And I am pretty new to the whole show as I discovered it like 2 months ago, but I somewhat managed to watch it 5 times now, so am I a bit obsessed? Yes, I agree. Anyways, before I go willy-nilly on a rant about the show, I want to quickly mention the animation, which is just so amazing. The way how the lighting changes almost the entire look of the characters and setting, daytime looks different from night, besides just getting darker. So many shots just scream,
I want to be a desktop wallpaper.
Disclaimer, the rest of this video is just me obsessing over the show, so sorry if it's not too professional, because I'm never good at being professional except being the unprofessional of the professional. Hilda, the character. Boots. Who needs shoes that big? It's like when you go shoe shopping and you find those perfect shoes, but they're just too big and your mom's like, you'll grow into them. That's the thing with Hilda's shoes, but they're adult-sized. Another character in the show is Woodman, who's a walking piece of wood with a floating head, who is obsessed with folk music, loves to read books, and soon gets into gambling. I mean, come on, the best type of people are the types of people to bet off some little girl in a gambling game. A minor supporting character in the show is known as the Bellkeeper. Yeah, he doesn't have a name yet. He's only in 2 episodes, but my goodness, the Hilda community loves this character. He's just this old dude who runs a bell tower in Trollberg and does the usual, like saving Hilda from becoming the villain in Coco. Oh, and he has the best out-of-context scene in the show, ever, about how he lost a cucumber sandwich as he dropped it off the Trollberg wall, and it was stolen by a troll. And the Hilda community, with full integrity, believes that this Bellkeeper is Hilda's secret dad or something. And do I agree? Nah. Hilda's dad is definitely Indiana Jones or something. Another character we meet is Eric Goldberg, a person obsessed with fame, who's just the type of character you want to punch in the face. Final character I wanted to mention, who is easily one of my favorites, is Hilda's mom, Joanna. I sort of have a bias for parent-child relationships in films and media. I kind of fell in love with the character, how the dynamics between her and Hilda are. The entire opening conflict of the show focuses on this, as how threats from invisible people are making the two consider if they should move to the city of Trollberg. Both don't want to displease another, which is why Joanna tries to warm Hilda up to living in the city, while Hilda tries to stay in the woods and, try and resolve solutions with invisible people, and never meet the most interesting creatures of all, human boys. These invisible people who turn out to be elves resort to terrorism, etc., etc. Hilda awakens an ancient giant, gets her home smashed, and they're forced to move to Trollberg, so yeah, that's the first 2 episodes summed up in 2 sentences, not really. And that's where this relationship between Hilda and Joanna peaks. And I hate that I have to talk about it so much, but I just love their relationship. In episode 3, Joanna introduces Hilda to the city, and it's the most interesting creatures of them all. Human boys.
Dear goodness.
Oh, and she also meets some bird that pretty much is bird, but Thor style. Continuing on, as I said before, we don't get many Hilda and Joanna moments after those first 3 episodes. Season 2 finale, yes, that episode was focused on them, but that was really it. And the only other thing we really got from Season 2 was when Joanna grounded Hilda, because Hilda is the usual child and likes to lie. So she gets grounded. Then she proceeds to break the space-time continuum. Like what all 11-year-old girls do these days. There's an arc in the show also involving a lost clan of elves who become what I like to call the anti-contracts, because a long time ago they were banished for not signing a contract 3 times. I just wanted to mention that because they speak in violence, because like all people, I love to speak in violence. They don't see violence as an option, or as an answer. They see it as a question. And because violence is a question, they kidnap a child, then ask him if they kidnapped him well.
So we kidnapped you here. Take a survey and please rate us a 10 out of 10 on Yelp.
Speaking of lost clans, there's another episode which follows Vikings with literal lightsabers, and I'd love to put Duel of the Fates over it, but I can't because of copyright. Pain. Don't you love it when the protagonist of an episode dies? Me too! Let's keep count, shall we? If I had a nickel for every time that the protagonist of a Hilda episode died twice, to spice it up, I'd have 2 nickels. That's not enough to buy me a bacon egg sandwich, but it's still weird that it happened twice. Oh, and did I mention that the show has a kill count? Is this show wholesome? I do agree, as it is really wholesome, but then there are times where Hilda almost devours dozens of souls because she didn't read the whole spell thing. Yeah, that's kind of a trope I see in movies, and like Doctor Strange said in Doctor Strange, you should have stole the whole book, because the warnings come after the spells. And I call that a happy coincidence. The show has plenty of other creatures and monsters from mythology, like trolls, lindworms, Yule lads, with the most interesting being they're not really from any pre-existing mythology, wasps. Cat balloons. Let me repeat that statement. Cat balloons. They also put some twists on these ancient myths. Normal ghosts go boo, and people go ah, and they look like they are in a bedsheet. Meanwhile, the ghosts in Hilda are pretty interesting, and they actually do like to wrestle, which I too love to beat up kids in the afterlife. Another not so twist they did was with the giants. Instead of us being scared of the giants are scared of us, so they said, "Aight, I'ma head out," and jumped to the vast void of nothingness known as space. In the story, we meet a giant called Jorgen, which is really hard to spell, and he is a massive simp. He had a set day to meet with a long-lost friend like 1,000 years ago. Sounds like a simp to me. What makes it funnier is that they refer to each other as friend, even though they hold hands, and yeah. Poor dude got friend-zoned. One of these creatures we meet in the show is a lindworm, which is pretty much a dragon. Instead of being some fearsome monster, it's just a dragon with social anxiety. They must have gone to the character drawing board and said, how can you make a dragon relatable? Let's give it the power of introverts. Social anxiety. One thing I find extremely funny about the elves in Hilda is how obsessed they are with paperwork. They're just like, you exist? Sign this paper here. But in order to see them, you need to sign a contract. So if you were mowing your lawn, you would just go through their houses unless the lawnmower signed the contracts, or is it only for sentient beings? And to say are furball creatures who create nests of the unused space in your house, stuff that falls between the couch cushions and all. So that explains where my dozens of disappearing socks have gone to. One of the Nisei we meet in the show is Tantu. Well, to be specific, they're all called Tantu. Yeah, it gets kind of confusing with that. And when he talks, he sounds like he has gunk in his throat, and it bothers the living heck out of me. As previously mentioned, Hilda met this Thunderbird called Raven, original name, I know, and he only appears in like 2 episodes in the entire series, which makes it kind of sad because he's one of the funniest characters in the show. One of the last times we see him, he gets mad about not being able to finish his cocoa. Till this day, we've never seen him finish that cocoa, so that's a pretty sad story if you ask me. The season 1 finale is all about the Black Hound, a massive dog terrorizing Trollberg and all. It sort of reminds me of Sherlock Holmes on just how it ended with a I solved it thing, like in those murder mysteries of Sherlock Holmes. No, I totally didn't have to read The Hound of Baskervilles for an English assignment. Fun fact, the show had a Christmas special, and instead of being boring, they went the Hilda route and included kidnapping. The episode followed the Icelandic myths known as the Yule lads, who are naughty kids who kidnap nutty kids to feed them to a chef ogre who turns them into stew. And they almost do that to Hilda's school bully, Trevor. If I were them, I would have left them, but they kidnapped Joanna, so I sadly have to subject myself to being a good guy here. Original soundtrack appreciation, please. Bear McCreary's soundtrack for Godzilla King of the Monsters was amazing. Daft Punk's electronic themes for Tron Legacy was also amazing. And I'd love to listen to original soundtracks that are just quality. And after I finished watching Hilda, I wanted to find the soundtrack for the show and listen to it. To death. The intro theme song is great, but the series features lots of amazing original music while also featuring some pretty good licensed songs. I was saddened when I found out that Hilda's soundtrack has never been released. There's a Spotify playlist for the licensed songs they used, which is great and all, but I want to listen to the score of the show. Just listen to the music of the show. It's really great, and I really hope they officially release it sometime soon, as it's pretty unique and different compared to most of the stuff I've listened to. Oh, and did you know that the theme song for the show is made by Grimes, also known as Elon Musk's girlfriend? To me, Hilda's more than just a show. I don't watch it, say it's good, and move on. It has stuck with me ever since I first started watching it. It has become my favorite show very quickly. The animation is stylish and so beautiful. There's such a variety in characters, from the comical Woodman to the jerkface Eric Alberg. There are tons of great, memorable, and lovable characters. The focus on creatures and monsters with different takes makes the show less cliche and more interesting to me. Every episode is a new adventure. From uniting long-lost families to awakening ancient monsters, Hilda is an adventurous show with tons of awe and mystery. It just means a whole lot more to me than I ever thought it could have. Whenever I feel down, I can just put on an episode of the show and not immediately feel better, but the heartwarming storytelling and the comical jokes and the beautiful animation, all of it, it can really make my day better. It means a whole lot to me, and that's why I did this video, to share my love for this show. And I really hope other people share the same thoughts that I have, the love that I have for this show too. And this is why I recommend it above all other shows I've seen so far. It means a whole lot more to me than anything else I've ever seen. I really hope you find the same joy in it I did.